Hello, this is Professor Kinney, and we are looking at using a masking technique in conjunction with color adjustments, known in Photoshop as adjustment layers. We're currently using Photoshop CS4. We've merged two images, the image of a man and a woman, and we've noticed that there's been a significant disparity in the color of the woman's skin and that of the man's. And we need to create some kind of adjustment that will compensate. Usually the best strategy is to create adjustments in both layers to bring both parties to a mean or a kind of average color temperature. So first we'll begin with the female's image. And you'll notice that only her eyes, nose, and mouth are showing as dictated by the masking layer. As an aside, you will notice that the masking layer shows up in the channels palette. The channels palette in Photoshop shows us the composition of our image. Right now we're viewing it as a red, green, blue composite image. We could look at the red information in the image, or just the green information, or just the blue information, or the green and the blue, which gives us magenta, cyan, or the green and the red, which gives us the yellow, or the red and the blue, which gives us magenta. All of them give us full color. Now this is called the mask, and white areas of the mask allow the top image to show through on the bottom image. The black areas of the mask, of course, mask out unwanted areas of that image. So that when we combine those two images using that mask, I'm just going to switch it off. It's showing it in red here right now. You can see the two images merged. Now I'm going to create a color adjustment. And I'm going to say Layer, New Adjustment Layer, and we're going to adjust the levels. And we'll just give this a name. Female skin tone adjustment. We've given it a name. And it shows up here. Again, a mask, but you'll notice that this mask is white, meaning that everything that we do here will be applied to all the images directly below it. So if I make any sort of change here, this is a little control board. If I double click that, it grants me access to that adjustment. There you can see the adjustment palette. This shows me the white point, the black point, and the mid-range point for all the levels in that image. I can adjust the level of red. And you'll notice that I can just move these sliders, and I'm decreasing the number of pixels in the image that are carrying red at 100%. Or I can move it this way, and it's increasing the number of pixels that carry that color. I can also adjust the green, and likewise the blue. So, knowing that, I can start to create adjustments. Now, in order for the color in the woman's face to become more like that in the man's face, we need to remove some of the warmer colors, the yellows and the reds. And so I would do that first of all by going to the red and pulling back on the amount of the red. Now you'll notice that it's affecting the man's skin as well, because currently the effect is global. It affects all images below this point. So here's what I need to do. If I go to the intervening line between the color adjustment, the layer adjustment, and the image, and hold down the Option key, you'll notice that a little intersecting Venn diagram appears. And if I click down with that, it indents it. That indentation indicates that this color adjustment will only affect the female. Only this image and not the male. So you'll notice now that if I use this adjustment and I start to adjust the red, it's only adjusting the female's skin tone and not the male's. So I'm going to pull a little bit of red out. I'm going to pull a little bit of the green out, and that should start to reduce the yellow in the skin tones there. I don't want to go too far, just a little bit, and I'll try with the blue as well. Too much. The problem with the lady's skin tones, because her image was so high contrast, even the slightest adjustment can blow out image detail very quickly. And you can see from this profile that there's a lot of pixels in the lighter end of the spectrum that all have the same value. Look at this here, and look at this huge clustering down here. And so I'm just adjusting the sliders ever so cautiously. The red, green, and blue really adjust the neutral density, or in a sense the brightness. So I can make her image much brighter or much darker. And I'm doing this just perceptually, using the monitor as my feedback mechanism. And again, keep in mind that we don't want to adjust her image too much because she's very high contrast. So we might have to resort to using the man's image and make him come down or mimic the woman's image more, because there's a lot more image detail in the male's image. Okay, so far so good. Now we want to do a color adjustment on the male. So we select that layer, and again go to Layer, New Adjustment Layer, and this time we're going to do the same thing but using a different technique. This is called curves. And here we're using what's called a gamma curve, which measures the relationship of tonal range in the original image to the reproduced tonal range up here. Usually, if you've taken a really good photograph and you want to reproduce that photograph exactly, you want to reproduce a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning that if there's 25% tone in the original, you want to reproduce 25%. If there's 50, you want to reproduce 50, 75, you want to reproduce 75, and so on. That's a curve whose slope is 1. The equation for this line is y equals 1x, or y equals x. It's called a normal gamma curve, because we want a 1-to-1 relationship between the original and the reproduction. The term negative comes from the fact that the slope of the gamma curve is actually, let me just flip it, see if I can flip this thing. Maybe I can do it this way. No? I thought maybe I could. No? Oh, let's try it this way. There. Now, I flipped that gamma curve. That's inverse. I've inverted it. The slope of this line is what? -1. That's where the term negative comes from. It's this relationship between input and output. So where we've got 100% tone in the original, where we've got 0% tone in the original, we're reproducing 100%. Where we've got 100% tone in the original, in the input, we've got 0% in the reproduced values. So we're flipping the relationship, inverting it. Curves, we can just bend them and make them much brighter or much darker, right? If we're doing it to RGB, or we do it with the red individually. We need to put more red in this guy, well, we can do that. He needs a bit more red in there. Green. Let's see where his green factor's at. No. Green, blue. No. There. And then RGB is, again, we're adjusting everything simultaneously to lighten or darken his image. Now you'll notice that as I try and get that, we're blowing out image detail on him because we're making him more high contrast like the woman. He's really starting to scare me now. But that's the layer adjustment. Now you'll notice that I didn't indent this one by option clicking here. And that's because this only affects those images that fall below it. And because there only is one image below it, there's no need for me to option click it. But I would do that anyway, just in case later on I thought of adding perhaps a third image. Then I'm making this color adjustment. Notice the icon shows that it's a curves adjustment. This shows a histogram, so this is a levels adjustment. Now, I'm going to do another adjustment to the woman, and I'm going to use layer, new adjustment layer. This time I'm going to use hue and saturation. And I'm going to use lip color. And I click OK. And you'll notice that because I created it on top of this one, that it automatically indented it, making it applicable only to the woman. Now, here's my adjusting right here. Hue, saturation, lightness. I can take this and make some bizarre color out of this. I'm going to use purple. And I can increase the intensity, the saturation, or decrease it. And increase lightness, decrease lightness. Okay? Now, this is affecting all of the female's image. And if I took this mask away, you would see this purple cast over the entire image of this woman. However, you'll notice that this has a mask. And so what I'm going to do is paint in black and fill in those areas. Notice that I'm painting on the mask. And so by painting, I'm painting over the wrong thing here. Okay, I'm going to have to back up. Window history. This is a nice little feature. I didn't mean to show it to you, but I might as well show it to you now. I can back up in time. So I've backed up in time. I make sure that I have the lip color mask chosen. I select black for my brush color. And now I can paint this out. So I'm limiting the effects of this color change to the lips only. I know, it's quite impressive. Now, I would do this with greater accuracy, of course. So I just want the lips to be affected, not the gums. So again, I'm going to have to switch back to keep it in black, and then I will use the left arrow to reduce the size, and that would allow me to come in here and remove that purple hue from the interior of the mouth. Now you might say, we could really use with a tooth whitening here, so let's do that. Let's add another adjustment. So I'm going to do another one. Layer, new adjustment layer, and I think I will go with the, I'll just use hue and saturation for that. And we'll use this as tooth whiten. And again, I'm going to adjust this in a way that whitens those teeth. I don't know that that's actually doing it. I think I need to do a different type of adjustment. So I'm going to get rid of this one, and all you need to do is drag it to the trash, and it removes it. Layer, and I'm going to create a new adjustment layer, and I'll use the levels. Whiten teeth. Let's use the levels adjustment, and we need to take the yellow out. And we know that red and green both make yellow. So we need to reduce the amount of red and reduce the amount of green in order to get these things whiter. And then we can use firing more blue into the teeth. We definitely should take the green out of the teeth. And I should have been a dentist, really. Now there's a nice thing that you can use here. It's called a white point. So if you choose this thing here and you say this needs to be the whitest point on that image, it will automatically balance those things for us. I still find that it's got a lot of, still got a fair bit of yellow in there that I'm not entirely happy with. So again, white's whiter. Whiten. Is there an actual whiten filter? A tooth whitener? Is using that? Okay, well, I'm just going to try it with this. I mean, there's probably an adjustment. If we look at layer adjustments, maybe vibrance. Exposure might do it. Even, you know what? Color balance. I think that'll do it. Let me chuck that one. I'll create a new one. New adjustment layer, color balance. And we'll work with that. Look at that, the scales of justice. Okay, so I want to focus. We can look at shadows, midtones, and highlights. Let's look at highlights here. And we want to adjust. This will do it. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Throw a little bit more blue in there. Okay, I'm okay with that. That's flashing those teeth. And again, we could do the same thing with the shadows and the midtones. But the teeth are mainly highlights in an image. Now the thing is that it's affecting the entire image. So again, we need to use, select the mask, then use our brush tool. And then we need to paint out those areas that we do not want affected by that change. Now, if at any time you need to do a before or after, Command Option space bar to zoom out. We can now take a look at the composition of this by switching on and off the changes to determine how effective we've been at matching them. And there's sort of a before and after. How well? Yeah, so-so. That's looking mighty scary. So you're going to be using this masking technique to combine two or more images. You'll be using a combination of layer masking and adjustment layers in order to balance skin tones between the multiple subjects. And that concludes the demonstration on masking technique and layer adjustment technique. Thank you.